For those that want a quick guide, here's one from Lord Garbelius. Make sure you drop down in the description, click the link to his Patron, and give him your support. Thank you. What's up everyone? Soul here with another Sword of Convallaria video, and today we're going to take a look at Agata, and I'm going to do a little bit of a guide talking about what makes her good, my opinions on how you should use her, and how she can benefit your gameplay in Sword of Convallaria. So yeah, let's not waste any time. Let's just get right into it. First things first, let's talk about her trait. Agata is the Silver Wolf Queen. Agata ignores the effects of frosty tiles. After dealing physical damage, she inflicts 1 stack of wound, up to 4 stacks, lasting for 2 turns. At the start of the battle, Agata gains Woven Awakening. And so that is right here. It's a buff and increases her attack by 10% and her physical defense by 20%. Before attacking, for each stack of wound on the target, it increases physical damage dealt to them by 5%. This effect cannot be immunized or dispelled. After attacking, back to her trait. For each stack of wound the target has, Agata inflicts piercing damage equal to 4% of her HP and can be activated 2 times per round. It's really big. Obviously we can see just from her trait that you absolutely want to try to get her HP up as best as possible. And so yeah, at 5 stars it kind of goes bonkers. You get the final form of Woven Awakening, which goes through 2 other stages, Woven Awakening 2 and then final form being 3, and so that is a 20% attack increase and a 20% defense increase, and her movement is increased by 2. It grants climb and or jump, and before launching a single target attack, it grants armor piercing. If the target has wound before attacking, for each stack of wound, the target increases physical damage dealt to them by 5%. Let's get back to her trait and finish reading it. Her HP is increased by 30% instead of the 1 star, the 15%. And then after attacking, for each stack of wound the target has, Agata inflicts piercing damage equal to 10% of her HP instead of the initial 4%. And then it can be activated 2 times per round, same as for 1 star. So at 5 stars, this trait kind of goes bonkers. Her physical attacks they get armor piercing, which is really good if the target has wound, mind you. And then to get that 30% HP increase, and then 10% of her damage of her HP becomes piercing damage on wounded targets. Really powerful. This is a character I would highly urge you to 5-star if you plan on using her, because her 5-star is broken. It's really strong. With that said, let's take a look at her ranks. And of course at rank 1 on the left you've got Knockback Pursuit. This single target attack deals 7% damage. We've seen this before in other characters. Not a bad attack, nothing wrong with it, but I would not suggest getting this. I would suggest getting on the right Inspired Healing. It's a passive. After initiating an active attack, it heals the ally with the lowest HP in battle by 20% of the character's physical attack. So it's a good little passive heal. If you want to change the role she plays in the group, maybe you need a little more survivability in the fight, you put this on her, and that way when she's hitting, she's doing a little bit to help and keep the team alive. Versatility in characters is very important, so I really like this. Up here at rank 3, you've got Silver Severing, and so this is piercing damage, and it's an instant. Agata charges the location and deals 30% damage to all enemies within a 1x3 area in the target direction, dispelling 2 buffs and inflicting 2 stacks of wound. Agata gains dodge for 1 turn. I love this ability. I've used it so often and I've really enjoyed it. Giving the dodge at the end is really good, but of course getting that wound on them as an instant is also really good. Which of course you can see right here, wound, we talked about that before. I guess I should read it to you. This is a debuff. It increases non-percentage piercing damage taken by an additional 12% and reduces healing received by 30%, and it's stackable up to 4 times. Really good. Really good, powerful debuff there that she's applying on those enemies. And then on the right, I would also suggest you to get, and that is the Queen's Announcement. It's physical damage. Agata deals 80% damage to all enemies within a 3x3 area in the target's direction and inflicts vulnerable 2 and speed down 2 for 2 turns. So this is really good for getting those debuffs on them. It's a really powerful attack. And that is doing 8% damage by a 3x3 range, so you're hitting a lot of people potentially, and you're hitting them with vulnerable too, and also you're reducing the speed so that they're not able to react as quickly. Really good. I think this is second priority if you don't have the Castalia. I think you would want to go and get Silver Severing as your first priority, in my opinion, but I would urge you to get both. At rank 5, you have her Elegance of the Queen on the left is her reaction ability. While healthy, the character can dodge 1 melee attack per round. Upon successful dodge, strike back and deals 50% damage. So I like this. I would like it more if she inflicted, and if it had just an extra effect on it within itself, on its own. But unfortunately it doesn't. I think I would really like that if they just got like a stack or 2 of wounds off of this ability alone, off this reaction. However, it is what it is. It's not a bad ability. I haven't utilized it, as you can see, but it kind of won me over. What kind of won me over is on the right, which is Vitalization. And so this is a reaction. It increases max HP by 12% and healing received by 30%. So that flat increase of HP is what really drew me. But of course, I like her to have that extra healing effect. But remember, her damage is scaling off of her HP. So to get a flat 12% increased HP is pretty massive, in my opinion. And so that's why I really like this. And then up here at rank 7, you've got on the left Taste of Prey. This is a passive at the start of the turn. If there are enemies within 6 tiles of the character gains Taste of Prey for 2 turns, and it has a 2-turn cooldown. Taste of Prey is a buff and increases your movement by 2 tiles, and additionally recovers 1 energy upon launching an active attack. I keep this on her pretty much constantly. Really, really good, powerful ability. I really like that buff. On the right, you've got Wild Surge. It's a healing instant. It recovers 15% HP and gains attack 2, regeneration 2, and healing receive 2 that lasts for 3 turns. This is a really great ability for sustain. This is the second choice that I would suggest. If you have the Castalia extra and you just want to pick this up for the versatility, there's nothing wrong with this. This is not something that I find myself utilizing often or bringing with me often, but there are times in fights where Agata can run off and do her own thing, and you want her to be able to maybe just sustain or hold an enemy off or take enemies out on her own. This is the way. This Wild Surge is really, really good. But I still think it's second to Taste of Prey. Up here at rank 9, you've got Powerful Attack. It's a basic attack, single target, and it deals 55% physical damage 2 times. I do prefer this over to the other choice on the right, which is Silencing Attack. We've seen this on other enemies. It basically has a 50% chance. It deals 50% physical damage 2 times and inflicts no active skill on injured targets before attacking. That target has to be injured in order to activate that no active skill. I don't really care for that. I just want to do the extra damage and hit 2 times, so that's what I go with right there. Powerful Attack on the left. Now up here at rank 11, you have Fair Duel. This is also on Gloria. We've seen this before. It's a single target attack. It does like 180% damage. Really powerful. It dispels all debuffs on her and all buffs on the target. Really, really cool, powerful ability, but I wouldn't suggest grabbing this. I would suggest getting her basically ultimate ability or her unique ability on the right, which is Feast. It's physical damage, single target attack. It deals 40% damage 4 times. And it recovers 40% of Agata's HP. When healthy, it heals all allies within 3 tiles around her by 25%. So this is what I would suggest you to grab on her. If I really like this ability, it's pretty great to utilize. It's nice to do the extra damage. It's nice to heal your allies. It's nice for her to have that extra sustain in her kit. So yeah, those are the ranks. Of course, we have to talk about Agata's ability, Permafrost Ground. This is a piercing damage ability that deals ice AoE damage equal to 35% of the target's HP to all enemies within a 3x4 area in the target direction, and the character gains Warrior of Frost for 2 turns. So of course, icy terrain, that's out right here, it transfers the tile into a frosty terrain, requires a higher movement to go through, but Warrior of Frost is a great buff. It reduces the damage taken by 30% and increases the distance the character can move by 1 tile when on frosty tiles. Really great, powerful ability for Agata. Let's have a look at her weapon choices. Now you have several different things to go after here, and of course remember HP is kind of a target stat, if you will, and yet you want to make sure you're utilizing with her. Newborn Blade is easily her best in slot. Arguably, it has at 5 stars an increase to her HP by 10%, and then she gets physical attack equal to 6% of her HP, and so that's really good. It's a really powerful weapon on her. Easy second choice is a Senator Swift Sword, which has at 5 stars the highest HP that you can get at 15%. However, that passive's not necessarily as strong, in that you're only able to inflict a move down 1 on the target for 1 turn per infliction. And so, yeah, I think this is a good second choice for her. And then the third choice, you know, there's really no weapon for her in her third slot that really does a lot for her. Guardian's Will, if you're just going purely off piercing damage, maybe you're in a fight where the mutation is that they don't take any physical damage and you still want to utilize her, push it across the line for whatever reason, that piercing damage that you're trying to go off, or maybe you can only do piercing damage. I don't know. This is the weapon that's going to give you your HP, and she's going to benefit from it. But yeah, like I said, Newborn Blade's kind of going to do that and then more. She doesn't benefit from the shield or anything like that, so this is not a great choice. And of course you have Void Stab, but that increases her crit by 3%. And then of course scales up. Let's see, at 5 stars, so you're doing 15%, and then extra crit damage stacked up 6 times. This is a good third choice. It's pretty decent. It's pretty standard. If you like Ever Burning Blade and you want it on her, there's nothing wrong with that. She'll do extra damage based on the Scorch, and she can inflict the Scorch. I think this is a really strong third choice as well. But I think her best choice is Newborn Blade and or Senator Swift Sword. I think it's just a matter of preference at that point. I prefer Newborn Blade. Having a look at her trinkets. Now, for me, in regular content, just clearing things, you don't know what to expect, maybe, who knows what, you know, just general content. I really like Evergreen Pendant because she's got so much sustain in her kit, and then you put that Resonance of Lifesteal on her. You're going to be propping this constantly, getting health back and getting buffs. And remember, it's level 2, one level 2 buff that lasts for 2 rounds each instance that there is a heal or life stolen. And so you're getting attack 2 to physical defense 2, magic defense 2, crit 2, or healing 2 at any given time, and you just keep them up constantly. It's really, really nice. It makes her nice and powerful. It's a good overall buff. So this is probably my favorite trinket on her. However, a really good suggestion past that is Crystal Burst Armor. This is very, very powerful in itself. It has a flat HP increase, and it's the only trinket that's giving that to you. And at 5 stars, it's a 10% increase. And so this is really good and powerful for that reason on her, because you want that flat HP. And so this is a great option, especially if you're targeting that piercing damage. You want Crystal Burst on her as the first option in those scenarios. And then for me, the third choice for her would be Cooling Powder. You really want her to be able to heal herself and to have that sustained period dot, and so to not be able to receive healing is a big deal. And so having this and getting that immunity to no healing is important on her. And so Cooling Powder is what I would suggest you go for on your third slot. And of course you have other things you could target past that. Maybe you're just wanting different things. Who knows what, there's nothing wrong with Spring Pill. She's definitely up in the fray and getting the action. And then earlier I spoke to her being on her own and sustaining herself in fights away from the team. Well, in that situation, Maverick's Cloak is a really strong choice and option, because as long as you're not within 4 tiles of your allies, you're getting a pretty big attack and defense buff just for being away from them. The last thing we're going to go over is her Tarot Whispers and my suggestion there. And for me, number 1, first in slot, is the Fool's Naivete. Really powerful. With the hidden effect unlocked, you're getting 20% HP. Super duper good. And then of course you're getting damage increase when you're fighting enemies that have a higher max HP than your character, and that's often the case in in-game content. When you're fighting things in the tower and so on and so forth, it's not uncommon for these enemies to have 20,000, 30,000 HP. And so, boom, here it is. You've got mega HP scaled against yours, and this is going to give you that 20% attack buff when you're fighting those enemies, just for having Fool's Naivete on. Another solid choice is the Hierophant's Law, but only if you're able to unlock that hidden effect. Otherwise, the AoE damage taken reduced is not significant at all. However, if you can unlock that hidden effect, then this will absolutely boost her single target attacks, which is her basic attack, and then feast. And then of course, when you also increase your healing, you're just single target, but that's neutral. It really doesn't matter too much. You're really targeting that boost in attack and damage. And so that's really, really good overall. This is a decent tarot. And then the third choice that I would suggest to you is actually Gibbous Moon. I really like this on her. She goes up, she gets hit and gets hit often, especially if you have that hidden effect. She gets down, gets injured quite often. And this is going to allow her to get a lot of extra heal. It's going to heal her per turn. And, of course, when she's dying, it's going to further give her extra healing, with that hidden effect. Really, really good, helpful to sustain. Another great solid choice is Judgment. I like her to be up in the front. I like her to get in the action. Obviously, she's close range, and so she's stripping buffs off the enemies and then inflicting them with Judgment. If you have the hidden effect unlocked, which is basically a increase of damage taken by 10%. This is a great solid choice. I'd say fourth or third, mixed with Gibbous Moon, if you don't have the other options, but that's just me, and that's my opinion. Of course, another great choice, if you're worried about AoE attacks and you're in a fight that primarily focuses on those, is the Magician. This tarot is phenomenal for doing additional damage based on how many targets you hit. So in those niche fights where you're trying to do a bunch of hits all at once with those AoE attacks on Agata, this is a solid choice to throw in there too. With that all said, just to go over Agata one more time, kind of give a synopsis. Agata has tremendous sustain in her kit. She heals herself, she does piercing damage, she can be built bulky and still do damage. She doesn't have to just go for physical attack and so on and so forth. As you can see here with the Resonance, which I need to discuss that too. I prefer the lifesteal. I think I mentioned it earlier. You're targeting HP and physical attack on her for the damage that she's going to do because she's a damage dealer. But she does have good sustain in her kit. You can build her defensively. She's not going to draw enemies to her, but you can zone them to where they're forced to hit her or nothing, and they will try to hit her, and there's nothing wrong with that. She can sustain and survive those hits and fight back in those instances. However, that is not what she's necessarily good at. To have a good blink tank that zone or draws people in when you're zoning them is somebody who's weak, and she is not weak. But when she's off on her own and she's trying to handle multiple enemies at once, building her with that sustain, building her bulky absolutely is to your benefit because she can hold them at that point and fight them all off. But as a flat damage dealer, that's right there with the rest of the group, hanging with them, having the extra sustain so that she has survivability and be able to hit hard with that HP scaled up and physical attack scaled up is really, really good. Whew. I really enjoyed Agata. I had a lot of fun with her. I kind of feel like I rambled talking about it, so forgive me. If you enjoyed Agata, let me know down in the comments. Let's talk about it. If you agree, if you disagree with my guide or my opinions on Agata, I'd love to hear back from you. I don't mind at all. And so, yeah, thank you for making it this far. If you have, please drop me a like and subscribe. We have a Discord that's live. I plan on having some tournaments in the future and some great activities on there. So feel free to join us. If you're feeling frisky and you want to make sure that we can keep covering content on these characters, feel free to jump in on our Patreon and support us there. Otherwise, thank you so much. I hope you have a great time in Sword of Convallaria. Take it easy. Bye.